AITA for refusing to be my ex's emergency contact. It started with a text I never expected. "Hey, I need a favor. Can you be my emergency contact?" I stared at the message, my coffee halfway to my lips. My ex, Jason 29 meters, was asking me his ex-girlfriend to put myself on the line for him, to be the person contacted if something went wrong in his life. We had broken up 6 months ago, amicably, or at least that's what I thought. I had moved on, focused on my career, my friends, my mental health. He had his own life, and I had mine. So when I read that text, I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or throw my phone across the room. I typed back slowly. "I don't think that's appropriate. You have other people who can be your emergency contact, right?" His reply was immediate, almost desperate. "I don't want anyone else. You know me better than anyone. Please. I really need this." The guilt tugged at me. Part of me remembered the long nights we spent together, how I had cared for him when he was sick, how I had been the one calling ambulances when he got into accidents in college. But another, stronger part of me knew that agreeing would be stepping back into a role I had explicitly left behind. "Jason, no. I can't. We're not together anymore. That's not my responsibility," I typed. There was silence. Then the messages began to get manipulative. "I thought we were still friends. You don't care about me at all, do you? If something happened to me, you'd regret not helping." The tone shifted from a simple request to guilt, shame, and pressure. I felt my chest tighten. I realized then that this wasn't just about an emergency contact, it was about control. He was trying to pull me back into his orbit, to make me responsible for him emotionally and practically, without regard for the fact that we were no longer a couple. Over the next few days, the messages escalated. Jason called me repeatedly, leaving voicemails full of quiet panic. I don't know who else to call. You're the only person who really knows me." And then came the subtle accusations in our mutual friend group. Friends began asking me why I wouldn't help him, whispering about how cold I was being, how I owed him. It felt like everyone was turning against me. But the breaking point came one evening when he showed up at my apartment unannounced. He was pale, fidgeting, eyes wide. "What if something happens to me tonight? Don't you care?" I felt trapped. He wasn't threatening me physically, but emotionally he was trying to force my hand, to make me complicit in his anxiety and dependence. And I realized something important. Agreeing would not just put me on his emergency contact list, it would put me back in a role where my boundaries didn't exist, where his well-being became my responsibility again, whether I wanted it or not. "Jason, listen, I care about you. I hope you're okay. But this isn't something I can do. You need to find someone else." He stared at me like I had just betrayed him in the deepest way possible. And for a moment, I wondered if our years together meant anything to him at all, or if our history was just leverage for his control. That night, I sat in my apartment, phone in hand, thinking about boundaries, loyalty, and what it truly means to care for someone. I loved him once, yes, but love is not obligation. Love is not guilt-tripping someone into taking responsibility for your safety. By refusing, I had chosen myself. And in that choice, I also saw a painful truth. Sometimes the people who demand we care the most are the ones who take our love for granted, and the hardest betrayal isn't infidelity, lying, or cheating. It's when someone weaponizes our past love to manipulate us in the present. So here I am 6 months later, still refusing. Friends ask if I regret it. Jason still sends vague, guilt-laden texts. But I've realized something crucial. Protecting myself is not betrayal. Walking away from someone who tries to control me under the guise of need is not cruelty, it's survival. And in that truth, I finally find peace. After I refused to be his emergency contact, Jason didn't stop. In fact, it felt like the storm had only just begun. It started with passive-aggressive texts in the early hours of the morning. "I guess I just don't matter to you anymore. Some friends are only friends when it's convenient, huh?" Then came the calls, sometimes 10 in a row, with no voicemail. I would see his number light up my phone and feel my chest tighten, my anxiety spike. Each time, part of me wanted to pick up, to calm him down, to reassure him like I used to. But the stronger, wiser part of me stayed silent. It didn't stop there. Jason began subtly turning our mutual friends against me. In group chats, he would write things like, "I don't know why she won't help me, I guess she doesn't care about anyone but herself. I just wanted someone who knows me to be there. Is that too much?" Some friends whispered, asking why I was being so cold or refusing to do the right thing. Even friends I trusted seemed to hesitate, unsure where the truth lay. I realized then that this wasn't just emotional manipulation, it was a campaign to isolate me, to make me doubt my own choices. Then came the climax the day I discovered that he had taken it one step further. I had gone out for lunch when I got a message from a mutual friend. "Hey, I think Jason might be exaggerating things about you. He's telling everyone you refused to help him in an emergency even though nothing happened." My stomach dropped. Not only was he trying to guilt me, he was now fabricating stories to make me look like a monster. People were starting to whisper. People were starting to believe him. I felt my chest tighten, my hands trembling. It was surreal. The person who once loved me was now weaponizing my boundaries, twisting reality to make me feel guilty. That night, I confronted him. "Jason, I know what you're doing. You're twisting this, spreading lies about me, and trying to make everyone doubt me. Why?" He looked almost ashamed, but the words were rehearsed, almost charming. I don't know who else to trust. You were the one who always had my back. I guess I just wanted things to be like before. I felt a pang of old affection, but I quickly pushed it aside. Things are not like before, and you can't manipulate people or me to recreate the past. You need to take responsibility for yourself. He said nothing for a long time, and in that silence, I realized the truth. The betrayal wasn't just in his asking me, it was in the way he tried to control me, isolate me, and use our shared history as leverage. That realization hit harder than anything else. The weeks that followed were tense. Jason doubled down, sending messages to our friends, trying to justify his fear and need for support. I began documenting everything: texts, emails, social media messages, witness statements. I refused to let his narrative go unchallenged. Then came the confrontation in person. One evening, he showed up at my apartment, uninvited, holding his phone like a shield. "You're making me look like the bad guy. Everyone's talking about it. Can't you just help me?" I drew a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. "Jason, I will not be your emotional crutch. I will not let you manipulate me, lie about me, or drag me back into a role I no longer occupy. This ends now." He looked stunned, almost as if he hadn't expected me to fight back. "But I thought you cared about me," he whispered. "Caring is not giving up your life, your boundaries, and your dignity. And if you can't respect that, then I cannot respect your demands." And with that, I shut the door. After that, the tide finally began to turn. Friends and colleagues saw the truth, the messages, the manipulations, the pressure. Slowly, people stopped taking his side. Jason tried one last time, posting vague, guilt-laden comments on social media, but no one engaged. He realized, finally, that I wasn't going to be dragged back into his world. Months later, my life felt lighter. I had rebuilt friendships, repaired my mental health, and grown stronger. And I had learned something invaluable. Betrayal isn't always obvious. Sometimes it comes in the form of subtle manipulation, in guilt tripping, in weaponizing shared history. And the strongest act of love for yourself is to recognize it, stand firm, and protect your boundaries even against someone who once held your heart. After months of refusing to be his emergency contact, Jason's frustration turned into something darker. At first, it was subtle, a whisper here, a sly comment there, but soon it became clear he was determined to punish me for saying no. It started with mutual friends. He began painting me as cold, uncaring, and manipulative. Little rumors circulated. She refused to help me in an emergency, can you believe that? I don't know why she thinks she's better than everyone else. Friends who had once been neutral now hesitated to invite me to gatherings, whispering that I might be too dramatic or selfish. Even friends I trusted were unsure what to believe. Then came the professional sabotage. Jason knew people in my industry, and he began spreading insinuations about me, emails to colleagues claiming I was unreliable, social media messages framing me as someone who abandons those in need. I started receiving strange inquiries from clients I had worked with for years, asking if the rumors were true. My heart raced every time I saw my inbox. One day, a long-time client canceled a major contract, citing concerns they had heard, though they refused to elaborate. I knew immediately who was behind it. My blood boiled. Not only was he trying to guilt me personally, but he was now threatening my career, my reputation, and the life I had worked tirelessly to build. The final escalation came one night when he showed up at my apartment, unannounced and uninvited, in the pouring rain. His eyes were wild, desperate, and pleading. "I just want you to see reason," he said, drenched, voice trembling. "I need you to be there for me. Can't you understand that?" I had reached the limit of my patience. I stepped back, took a deep breath, and met his gaze without flinching. "Jason, I will not be your emergency contact. I will not let you manipulate me or destroy my life because you can't take responsibility for yourself. You've crossed every line. This stops now." He tried to argue, to guilt me, to invoke our past. He mentioned shared memories, long nights we had helped each other, even the vacations we took together. But I held firm. His pleas no longer held any power. "Our history doesn't give you the right to hurt me now. I'm not responsible for your mistakes, your fears, or your lies. You need to live your life without dragging me into your chaos." He left that night, furious but powerless. After that, the aftermath was chaotic but ultimately liberating. Some friends had believed him at first, but when confronted with evidence, screenshots of messages, documented lies, witnesses who had seen his manipulations, they finally understood the truth. The whispers ceased, apologies came, and slowly my social circle realigned with reality. Professionally, I rebuilt trust by directly communicating with clients, providing transparency, and demonstrating the same reliability I had always had. The attempts to sabotage me only strengthened my resolve and skill. Most importantly, I realized that boundaries are not optional. Saying no, refusing to be manipulated, and protecting myself from emotional and social sabotage was not betrayal, it was survival. Jason had weaponized our past, tried to isolate me, and threatened my life in subtle ways, but I survived, stronger and wiser. Months later, when I finally reflected on the ordeal, I understood something crucial. Betrayal is not always dramatic infidelity or theft. Sometimes it is quiet manipulation, emotional coercion, and social sabotage. And the most powerful act is to recognize it, stand firm, and reclaim your life from those who tried to control it. By the end, I had not only survived Jason's attempts at revenge, I had grown, empowered, and discovered a new depth of self-respect. He became a cautionary tale, a reminder that the people who demand you care the most can sometimes be the ones who betray you. The deepest stand that freedom lies in saying no.